Okay, let me start off by saying here that I'm a 100% Bernie Sanders supporter. I'm skeptical of Hillary Clinton, and even in this fake progressive version of herself, she still only manages to be a watered down version of Bernie Sanders. I'm skeptical of Martin O'Malley and his record in Baltimore. His rhetoric on immigration, I believe, can become a little dangerous, and his gun reforms in Maryland, I believe, are an overreach. And this is going to sound Trump-esque here, but Lincoln Chafee looked like a weak loser on that debate stage last Tuesday. And his defenses of some of his questionable votes, they were absolutely hysterical. Lawrence Lessig, look, I love his willingness to address campaign finance reform, but the whole referendum presidency thing, that sounds way too abstract. So in comparison to all the other candidates in the field, I'll pick Bernie Sanders any day of the week. But like any other politician, I believe Bernie Sanders has some weak spots. On social issues, economic issues, and some foreign policy issues, myself and the vast majority of the American people agree with Bernie Sanders. So what Bernie Sanders needs to do is convey that. After the debate, the vast majority of Bernie's criticisms, they originated from obvious misunderstandings of his policies. They've taken this socialist label he has, and they have stopped listening from there. So Bernie Sanders needs to strongly but patiently address those criticisms. Say that while I consider myself a socialist, I do not want to overthrow our capitalist system and replace it with Stalinist communism. I don't want to take all your private property. I don't want to socialize all major industries. What I want to do is keep our capitalist system, invest in small and medium-sized businesses, but make sure that the huge corporations and the ultra-rich pay their fair share. And with that extra revenue, we can rejuvenate our middle class with programs such as tuition-free college, infrastructure investment, Medicare for all. What I just said there, it explains Bernie Sanders' fantastic policies thoroughly, but it also reiterates that he is not some crazy communist who wants to turn the U.S. into the freaking Soviet Union. Now, another one of Bernie Sanders' weak spots is his position on guns. During the debate, while I can certainly respect and I largely agree with Bernie Sanders' position on gun rights versus gun control, he lost the exchange with Hillary and O'Malley on guns. They hammered home the point that America is sick and tired of these routine mass shootings and this absurd amount of gun violence overall. But what Bernie Sanders needs to point out is that he isn't weak on guns. His pro-gun control votes in the past, ban on assault weapons, instant background checks, ban on high-capacity magazines, closing the gun show loophole, and addressing strawman personages. These are common-sense gun reforms that I believe will go a long way in cutting down on the terrible gun violence that occurs here in America. But they also, these policy reforms, they respect the rights of peaceful, non-violent gun owners in more rural areas of the country. So I believe what Bernie needs to do is completely give up that gun manufacturer lawsuit vote back in 2005. Just give it up, okay? You made a mistake during that vote, and you did side with the NRA on that issue. But it was 10 years ago. Just say that you regret the vote and move on, okay? Then, when Hillary tries to just get all big and challenge you on guns, ask her, exactly what will you do that is different from me on this issue? And she'll stumble trying to answer that, because what will she do that is different from Bernie on gun control? Absolutely nothing. Therefore, by her own logic, if Bernie's weak on guns, she's weak on guns. And then on Wall Street, you and Hillary need to get into it, okay? Because I believe challenging her on perhaps her weakest issue, it will show the average voter Hillary's true establishment colors. You want to break up our economy's most destructive financial institutions, these terrible too-big-to-fail banks. She wants to go to Wall Street and say, knock it off. So there's clear policy differences there, okay? So challenge her. So there you go. On key 3 issues, I believe Bernie Sanders can improve in how he markets his position and introduces himself to the American people. Bernie puts Hillary to shame when it comes to actual policy substance, of course. So Bernie has to make that a focal point, policy substance, make it a focal point of the debate. And if he does that, the American people will gravitate even more towards his campaign.